Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you've tuned into this video, it's because you want to learn how to use a professional audio mixer. Now, one of the reasons why people don't use a professional audio mixer when doing their videos is, for most people, it just seems complicated. All these buttons and dials on this mixer, and they just feel intimidated, and they say, you know what, let me just stick to a regular microphone, just like the microphone that I often use to record my videos, which is a decent studio microphone. Another reason is that a lot of people just don't realize how powerful and how useful a mixer can be, a powerful tool to helping them make better videos. Because when all is said and done, what's a video without audio? And there are several videos that I've seen on YouTube and the audio was just so bad and it was just so difficult to follow what the YouTuber was saying. I just immediately skipped past that video. And I'm sure many of you have had the same experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down in a very simple way how to effectively use a professional mixer in your videos. Now, different people will have different needs as far as using a mixer is concerned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out very simple with the basics, which is going to be sufficient for a lot of people. And then over a series of 5 videos, I'm going to be moving up for people who might have different needs as far as using a mixer. So this is going to be the first of 5 videos. And after watching this video, if you believe that you need to take it to another level, then you can continue watching video number 2 and so on until you get to number 5. Some of you might stop at 3, some of you might want to go even further, but that's the idea, to break it down and make it very simple. So without any more delays, let's just go into using a professional audio mixer. So the audio mixer that I have that I often use to record my videos is the Behringer Xenix 1204 USB. That's the model mixer that I normally use here. But the reason why I'm using this is that this is a basic mixer, and even though it's basic, it's very powerful. When I say basic, what I mean, or what I'm trying to say, is that it has the basic tools that 90% of people who are doing some sort of audio work are going to need and use on a regular basis.
One of the things that you need to bear in mind when you're using a mixer is a delicate piece of electronic equipment, and at the sides of the mixer you have grills that are meant for ventilation. If these grills are blocked by books or any other item and there's no proper airflow, then your mixer is not going to stay cool, and that's not going to be good. So we want to make sure that to the sides of your mixer, to the back where all the connections are made, you want to make sure that those areas are free and clear of any obstacles, and that way we can guarantee that we can make connections and that our mixer stays cool. That's very, very important. And as always, it's a good practice never to eat food or have a cup of coffee or water or anything near these electronic devices. In a studio setting, it's never good to have food around your mixer. That's a no-no.
So even though I work in the field of audio video, and I have, basically decades of experience, this mixer is sufficient for all my needs, and it's sufficient for the needs of most people. So in spite of the relatively small size and low cost, this is a very powerful tool. And today we're going to talk about how to use this to get the best sound possible in your videos. Like I said, I'll be splitting this up into 5 different videos. In this video number 1, we're going to talk about social media and narration. So when we talk about social media, a YouTuber, like perhaps giving an instruction video or commenting on something, or maybe you do audiobooks. You might not do the video aspect whereby you're talking to a camera, but you might do an audiobook where you're creating material that students are going to be using, or it might just be a work of fiction or non-fiction for someone to use. The audio has to be clear. The way you articulate, all the sounds need to come out properly. And we're going to look at how the mixer will allow you to get that proper sound. Some headsets like this one, they have a built-in microphone, but the microphone inside this headset is for basic communication. It doesn't have a wide range of coverage to capture all the frequencies. And so this is usually not sufficient to do any professional level recording. So even though I use the headset aspect of this, the headphones, I usually don't use a microphone when I'm doing my videos. I use a microphone that's designed specifically for capturing nice audio. Now, as I pointed out earlier, there's a microphone that I normally connect directly to my computer, and I use that to capture the audio for those videos. However, there are times when I need to modify the sound to get a better sound, and having that microphone by itself just doesn't allow me to do that. It's not that it's a bad microphone, but sometimes you want to enhance and make that sound better, and just having a plain old microphone is not going to help. So definitely you need to use something that's going to allow you to get a better sound, and that's exactly what a mixer does. So let's turn our attention now to the mixer. Now, when you connect a mixer, it's always important to keep the power off. The power should always be off, and all these sliders should always be at their lowest point, and then you make your connections. It's very dangerous to start making connections or have the power on and these sliders up. So you want to make sure, this is very basic. I'm teaching basically the guiding principles of how anyone who's working in sound would operate. Keep these dials down to the minimum, and then we can start working from there. So on this mixer, the Behringer Xenix 1204, we have 4 inputs, and these 4 inputs can be used for microphones. That's why you have these XLR connections. And the XLR connection has 3 pins. So you can use that for a microphone, or you could use it for a line input. What do we mean by a line input? A line input can be a musical instrument, or it can be a feed from another mixer. However, we're doing the basics, so we're not going to go into the advanced application of another mixer or an instrument. We're going to stick to the basics right now. And in the basics, we normally do a microphone, which is right here. And then what I like about this mixer is that it allows you to turn on phantom power. Now, what is phantom power? Now, at the back of the mixer, apart from the power button, there's another button called phantom power. And so for sensitive studio mics like this, which I have mounted here on my desk, basically they need a power source. They're condenser microphones, they need a power source, and so the power they get from 48 volts that's superimposed on those microphone connections. So this microphone, the link is in the description below. It comes with this arm and everything to mount it onto your desk, and it requires phantom power. So if your mixer doesn't have phantom power, this microphone is not going to work. So remember that a condenser mic properly mounted, and if you look at how it's mounted, it has all these springs. And the reason why it's done like this is if something were to happen and there's vibration, then normally the microphone would pick that up. So by having it spring mounted on this, then it's basically floating, so to speak, and the rubbery springs they will absorb any vibration coming maybe from maybe a truck passing or maybe the neighbor stomping on the floor, stuff like that. Now, having showed you where the microphone plugs in, we want to go to the back of the mixer and we want to turn on power. We see the power light comes on right there. But then we also want to turn on phantom power, and then we see the phantom power, 48 volts DC, it comes on right there. And even though I'm using this Behringer mixer, many mixers follow the same principles. The layout might be slightly different depending on the model, but the same guiding principle applies to all mixers. So, having turned on the power, we're going to calibrate our mixer. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to start with the gain. But before we go to gain, there's this button here called low cut. So if the button is sticking out, then the low cut is off. And if the button is in, then the low cut is on. So why do we have low cut? What does that mean? So in audio, you have low frequencies, the sort of frequencies that you would get from a subwoofer. And usually subwoofers go down to 80 hertz. However, some background noise like someone hitting a desk or something like that, that's the sort of sound that you usually don't want in a recording. If you're using any lower frequencies, it's usually coming from an instrument. And so when you're using a microphone on your input, we want to put the low cut. We want to keep that button in because then it will get rid of undesirable noises like maybe the person, the singer or the person who's speaking, handling the microphone. So you want to cut out all of those distracting noises. So that's why you would have the low cut pressed in. So remember, microphones, you want the low cut pressed in. And if you're using any of these for an instrument, then you leave the low cut out. So when it's out, the button is high, and when it's on, it's pressed all the way in. So my microphone is connected to input 1. Now we're going to calibrate this microphone. So what do? The first thing we do is we push the gain all the way down to 0. And like I said before, all our dials need to be at 0. Or at the minimum. I'm sorry, not 0, the minimum. Because in the audiovisual world, 0 means something else, completely different. 0 decibels means neutral. You're not amplifying and you're not reducing the sound. It's just what we call unity. So we keep everything at a minimum. So the first thing that we do, since the microphone is connected here, we move this slider up to 0, unity. And then, once we have that up to unity, then we come to the microphone right here. We start to speak normally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we can also push these up, these dials. These are the main outputs. So you can see the light flashing. And this is also held at unity, which is 0 decibels. So we keep speaking and we keep turning that. Hey, you. And usually use your highest speaking or singing voice to calibrate that. And our goal is that our highest sound should be at 0 decibels. So my highest sound, so we see it jumping into the yellow LEDs. So we want to bring down the gain a bit. Hey, yeah. So that's fine. So when we say our loudest words or when we sing at our highest, then it should be just about 0. For a very high sound, if it goes into the yellow LEDs, that's fine. That's not a problem. But normally we're not singing or speaking at that level, so it's going to hang around 0. So that's fine. So this is how you would calibrate each microphone. The gain. If the gain is too high, then what's going to happen is that the sound is going to be very distorted. Sometimes you might even have the clip light coming on here, this red LED coming on. And that's what we don't want. We don't want a clip. We don't want the gain too high. So the first thing we do when we connect the microphone, we have to calibrate the gain by keeping whatever microphone you're testing at unity, 0 decibels. The main output volume, we keep that at 0 or unity, and then we adjust the gain until the lights go up to 0 and not higher. They may go higher for a shout or a scream, but under normal speech or normal singing, they should not go above 0. So I think we have that covered. So now that we have that covered, let's move on to the next dial, and it's going to be this. I'm going to stop this video so that I can switch microphones. I can move from the microphone in my webcam to this microphone right here. So here we are back at the console, the mixer, and one of the things I need to do before we switch to this microphone is that I'm going to plug my headset in right here. See where it says phones on the mixer? I'm going to plug my headset in right there. And basically what this will allow me to do is to hear myself speaking. So now that I can hear myself, now I can switch from the microphone in my webcam to this microphone right here.
So having worked on the gain, the next thing we want to move on to is the compression. So what is compression? Now, I don't want to get into a very technical discussion about what compression is, so I'm going to illustrate. So turning this dial for compression up, I'm sure you can hear my voice changing. All right, and as I turn it back down, it changes again. So 0 is a bit too flat, but turning it up just about here, it gives a more mellow, a nice tone that's okay for me. That's what I want to hear. So there are no rules where this is concerned. It all depends on the sound that you're going for. And I like the sound, so that's where I stop. So we have an equalizer here, and as we mentioned before, things are normally set at unity, 0 decibels, so it's neither amplifying nor reducing the sound. So this represents the high frequency. You can see where it says high, and usually we find mostly females who have a very high-pitched voice. And so if you watch the level indicator right here, as I turn the higher frequencies up, my voice is going to change a bit. The timbre of my voice is going to change. So how much of those high tones do I want in my voice? Now, I'm a baritone by nature, so basically I want to add a little bit, but I don't want to add too much. I want to add a little bit just to give myself some mellowness in my voice. And then we have the mid-level frequencies. I like to keep this at 0 for my voice, but because I'm a baritone, I tend to have lower frequencies, so I may want to turn this up a bit just to add some mellowness to my voice. Depending on what sound you're going for, it depends on each person's voice. And then if we go to the low frequencies, since I'm a baritone, you see how this jumps up? Because those frequencies, since I'm a baritone and I speak in the lower frequencies, then those are going to get amplified real easily, and it's going to go over that 0 mark. So in a situation like this, like if I'm doing a YouTube video or a podcast, this is something I wouldn't want to push up too much, because naturally I have those lower frequencies, the deep voice. So I'm probably going to keep that at 0 for now, or move it slightly up. But that's it. That's where I want to keep it. For the purpose of this video, this first introductory video, we're not going to talk about this red dial. We're not going to talk about this orange one either. Let's just keep them as they are at 0 or unity, and we're going to skip those. And then the balance, what does the balance do? As you turn this to the right, all the sound will go to the right speaker or the right side of your headset. And if you turn it to the left, then it's going to go to the left speaker or the left side of your headset. So basically that's what the balance does. And you're probably wondering, well, why would I want to do that? Well, there are certain times when it's useful to switch the sounds to one side. For example, if you have if you're doing a podcast and you have more than one person speaking, it can be an advantage. However, we're not talking about podcasts yet. We're going to do that in our second video, but just bear in mind that by turning this, you can either send the sound to the right or to the left. So that's basically it. And then, like I said, we normally keep this at unity, but sometimes if you think it's too loud, you can move the slider down or up. But this is usually done after calibration is done using the gain button. And again, when you're calibrating, this is kept at 0. So that's basically it for a podcast. If you're recording a podcast or a YouTube video, that's basically it. That's all you need to know for now. You have your microphone here, you have the USB output on the back going to your computer, and that's it. Just make sure that whatever program you're using to record, just do a test first and make sure that you see sound coming in. Make sure something is moving that indicates that, hey, the sound is actually getting to the computer. Because if your headphones are plugged in here, you're hearing what is coming into the mixer and what is being sent out. However, you need to verify, you need to confirm that the sound is actually getting to the computer. So we're going to stop here for now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. I'll try and answer those questions as quickly as possible. But even though we have all these buttons, for now, for what we're doing, we only needed to learn about the buttons in line with this first speaker, the headphones, and the output. The things you're not using, don't worry about them. It's like a car or some other electrical appliance you have at home. They have a lot of buttons, but you don't need all of them. You just use the ones that apply to what you're doing at a given time. So that's it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. In our second video, we're going to be talking about podcasting with invited participants or guests, and then we can go into some more features of this mixer, the Behringer Xenix 1204 USB. Thanks.